Okay, hello all. This is one of those videos, but I feel like I just distilled my entire life into this sheet of notes that I have for this video, and it's weighing on me way heavier than I thought it was. This is actually a video I've been wanting to make for almost a year now, but it's one of those videos where I almost feel more comfortable sharing with strangers like you guys than I would like someone in my family. Like, I don't want my mom to watch this video. That's why I haven't made it, as stupid as it sounds. Because I guess it's just one of those topics that's like super close to home, as close as home as you can get. But a few things happened recently where I'm like, I feel like I should make this video just for me. So it's like out in the world and I feel like I can just like move on with it. Sarah, just shut up and get to the point. So number one is I made a really cool video with Matt Diavella where we switched lives for a week. I'm a night owl, I stay up late and work. And he's an early bird. And so we switched and, you know, I tried to be an early bird and I actually learned a lot from it. And I do want to not stay up until 4 a.m. editing videos for the rest of my life. So it was a good experiment for me to have. And really it was just the discussion happening in the comments of people being like, oh my gosh, this is so me. It's like, it's cool to be seen and heard because, you know, a lot of the YouTube productivity niche is very the same thing. It's like very Jocko Willink.
Yes, I wake up at 4:30 in the morning.
Waking up at 5 a.m. and hitting the gym and just do it. You know, and I'm not that. I can be aggressive and I am a go-getter, but just not in that context, if that makes sense. So all the comments on that video is actually encouraging me to make this one. And number two, Casey made a really good video where he talked about you know, ADHD kind of being his superpower, right? And it comes with some very big negatives, but it can also be like a superpower, which was really cool to see him talk about. And then number three, John and I are about to embark on kind of like another life adventure, which I'm excited about. And it's kind of like a bookend to the pandemic. Like the past 3 years, guys, it hit me very hard, and I'm sure a lot of y'all at home as well. So I think the past 3 years have really forced me into self-reflection, and to say that I've learned a lot about myself is quite the understatement. And so, Sarah, what the heck are you even talking about? You know, this is like the all-time longest intro. Well, it all started on May 30th, 2021, where I feel like I was probably at one of my lowest periods. I made a video titled, "I Don't Fit In Here." And I was seeing a lot of my colleagues just like thriving during this period, making their most money, doing big life stuff, and just putting one foot in front of the other. And I was like, wait, these people aren't freaking out like I am? Okay. Cool. And then I talked about how a lot of the mainstream advice or some of the favorite podcasts or books that people read, I just cannot relate to. They do not help me at all. Because I am so not that. Maybe there's a part of me that wishes I was more like them. Like, why am I such a weirdo off in the corner? I just feel like I don't fit in when it comes to just being a normal. And it turns out in this video, I was sitting here and describing something that has a name, and it's ADHD. And you guys, the internet, literally diagnosed me. So thank you for that. Thank you. You know, throughout the years of my channel, I have been very open about things I struggle with, but I come from an environment where you just power through things, okay? You don't stop and wallow and, you know, address things that might be wrong with you because you're fine, you're just gonna power through it. And so, ironically, over my entire career on YouTube, you guys in the comments, whether it's YouTube comments or tweets when I'm describing things, you'll just straight up be like, Sarah, have you Googled what ADHD is before? Hey, Sarah, you might have this thing called ADHD. I mean, guys, look at these comments. And at the time when y'all were leaving them, if I'm being honest, I was extremely offended. Like, I have a very open mind about things when it's about other people. But when it comes to me, I'm good. Leave me alone. Stop commenting on me. You know, I know me. I'm confident in who I am. Who are you to come in and tell me that something is wrong with me? I mean, seriously, guys, I did not take it very well. And so I kind of just was like, okay, I still want to leave this video up because I feel like a lot of people are relating to it and feeling heard, but I am extremely annoyed by these comments, you know, essentially diagnosing me. And so I have some news. You were right. You know, it's extremely tragic when the internet is right about you, you know. So now I'm coming back like 2 years later with a lot of lessons learned, and a lot of knowledge under my belt. And that's what I kind of want to talk about. I guess it's just my entire life. Like, I've had this view of who I am, and I've done things certain ways that have worked. Like, I have, you know, a smidge of success in this life, so why mess it up? So what made me actually entertain this and actually go to Google for the first time and type in, what is ADHD? What are the signs of ADHD? So, you know, it was a combination of stuff. The past 3 years, my bad habits got worse, and I was burnt out, I was exhausted, I got, you know, kind of lazy about my health. There were some moments with my relationship with John, my husband, where there was just this friction of how we do a lot of day-to-day things differently. Just something like time management. So every night before he goes to bed, he lays out this beautiful to-do list. And he wakes up the next morning at like 6, 7 a.m. every single morning, doesn't wake up to an alarm, just naturally wakes up, goes to bed early every night, and he just starts his day immediately. And he just checks off his to-do list one by one. He finishes to-do lists every day. That is like the polar opposite of how I work. What is up with that? And so as I was struggling with things in my life, whether it was work, relationships, goals, at the same time, I was allowing myself to explore that, hey, there might be something wrong with you. So I started following these accounts, and, you know, a simple tweet from ADHD Dietschy, or this Instagram couple that I follow, they would make a goofy video about ADHD. And I started to allow myself to be like, I've never related to something so much more in my life. Like, it felt like just hearing people talk about things that you thought you were completely alone with. You know, it was like taking a sip of water for the first time in a freaking desert. You were like, oh wait, that's me. Oh my God, that is my entire life, you know, and then the floodgates opened. I was listening to every podcast about ADHD, books, I was following people on every social media. I just could not stop consuming things. Cause I mean, again, it felt like for the first time, I was like, oh my God, this is like, what a relief. These people are saying things that I didn't even know I could articulate. I didn't even have the language that they had to articulate what I was feeling. And so it was just a lot of observations around me on the internet, allowing myself to dig into rabbit holes, you know, and here we are now. Like, yeah, y'all were right. Your girl is a straight up ADHDer. Sometimes in very rude ways. That's why I ignored you guys for a long time. So wow, why now? At the age of 28, how are you just now figuring this out, Sara? You know, I mean, there's a lot of things. I'm reading this book. I think it's just called Women with ADHD. And when I say reading, I'm listening to the audiobook because I have a hard time actually reading books. And she talks a lot about how girls are severely underdiagnosed with ADHD because a lot of times society will just see a young boy who is buzzing with a ton of energy, can't really focus in class, and exhibits a lot of the external symptoms of an ADHD, right? It's easier to identify from the outside. And then when it comes to girls, they actually internalize a lot of the symptoms of ADHD. So it's harder to point out, it's harder to diagnose. And that is why women in between the age of 25 and 35 are actually number one in terms of an age category being diagnosed later in life with ADHD. So there's maybe like a macro example of why, but for me personally, I was like a high functioning ADHDer, I guess you could call it. Like, you know, there's high functioning alcoholics. I was a high functioning ADHDer. I tried very hard with things. And so I accomplished things. I made straight A's at school. I excelled at hobbies, right? It did come at a certain cost. I was definitely one of those kids that I felt like I had to work like 10 times harder, study 10 times harder than people to get the same thing. I was never that naturally smart person. Like God, this is like ingrained in my brain. I was in 5th grade. I remember the specific moment in the library with my mom where she had to beg the librarian to put me, this 5th grader, into pre-AP classes in middle school because I didn't automatically qualify for it because I wasn't put in the gifted and talented classes in elementary school. I didn't have that natural ability to just be smart. I had to like really hunker down at things and figure them out, and it took me longer to do that. But my mom knew I was smart, and she told that librarian, what's up, you know? And I made it to some of those pre-AP classes, and woo, I worked my butt off. That is definitely, I think, one of the first instances where I could remember that chip on my shoulder being built, right? Because I always had to prove to people that I deserve this spot, whether it's in a pre-AP class, an AP class later. Hey man, if you don't think I should be here, well, I'm just gonna prove it to you, right? And so whether that chip on my shoulder is healthy or not, I carried that into middle, high school, into adulthood. And you know, later in school, gosh darn it, I was gonna prove to my parents that, yeah, I'm smart. I deserve to be here. Look at me. I'm the normal kid. I'm the perfect kid. And probably what magnified that is my younger brother. He struggled hardcore with dyslexia. And as a young kiddo, he had to have open heart surgery. Like, my little bro went through it. And I think my mom really focused in on him because she had to, obviously. Dude, my little bro, he's been through it. And so he was bouncing in between different schools. They were trying to figure that out. So again, I was over here like, yeah, I'm the child with no issues. Look at me, I'm thriving. But in reality, I was, hanging on by a thread. I mean, looking back in the fact that I was up at 2 a.m. finishing English essays that were due the next day, and I would literally have to have my mom, poor Jeannie is a champ, okay? Jeannie would stay up with me 2 or 3 a.m. and she would take the highlighted quotes that I would make in my Charles Dickens book with my notes in the margins, and she would put that in a Word document for me because I could not write to save my life. I could do the work, I could read the book, I could get to that final point, but putting words on a page, I literally could not do it. So she wrote, I swear, every essay for me my sophomore year the night before at 2 a.m. because of course I would save it to the last minute and I would have no option. I'd be like, Jeannie, I literally cannot do this. Can you help me? So let's just have a moment for Jeannie. But I'm like, there are so many stories like that where I'm like, how did no one look at me? It was like, there might be something wrong with you. So as Doug DeMiro would say, well, what about those quirks and features of a brain like mine? And you guys can let me know if you struggle with any of these. And I do have some solutions that have helped me. So this isn't all negative. Don't worry, guys. It's not all negative, okay? Oh, man, okay. The urgency of deadlines. So important for me, but it's also what kind of ruins my life. So a deadline for me, if I need to get a video done on Thursday, in my brain, Thursday lasts until like 5 or 6 a.m. of Friday. I know that makes no sense, but because I get a lot of editing done at the last minute, I'm very used to doing the last stint of the edit from like 12 a.m. to 4 a.m. Something that I'm not proud of. Sleeping, eating, and drinking water, just in general, is very difficult for me. So I do get into these like hyper-focused tunnels where I will just be so sucked into something, whether it's a rabbit hole or it's a video edit, whatever it is. And then I'll kind of snap out of it and be like, I should probably eat. Have I drank water? A lot of these themes are very like all or nothing. I'm a very intense person. And so I've been working on this one, the eating and sleeping. That's why I was really excited to do the Matt Diavella, night owl morning person challenge. But I keep just going back and forth. I default to being a night owl. But for my health, I actually really have to fix that. My body is telling me this is not okay. I'm trying to do different things with my food, but yeah, that's a whole other thing of my body does not react well to certain foods all of a sudden. I think it's a lot of bread, and I've gone to an allergist and stuff, but yeah, like I would say 60 or 70% of the time when I eat, I like can't breathe after, so that's something I need to fix. But everyone's like, if you don't get consistent sleep, you might as well throw everything out the door. So I'm trying to work on that too, okay? There's a long list of things I need to do. I get stuck in this like setting things down loop. So I'll be like, oh, I need to grab that thing in the other room, but I'll carry my water with me so I can put it in the sink. But I don't put the water in the sink, I put it on the table, and then I forget what I went into the living room to grab. But in the living room, there's that one thing that I need to bring upstairs. Oh, let me grab that shirt. And I walk upstairs, I forget what I'm doing with this shirt, so I just throw it somewhere, and then I'm upstairs, and I'm like, why did I come up? Anyways, that loop, you know, and then you start losing things. So that has actually been really helpful to identify, because now I do the thing where I'm on like the second or third thing, and I can stop myself and say, Sarah, do not take one step further until you've done the first thing that you were gonna do, or the second, or the third. And so as I get more self-awareness of some of these attributes, you know, of an ADHD brain, I'm able to stop it in the middle and kind of rewind. Not 100% of the time, but that's what I am getting better at, and that's what is helpful about identifying problems, because then you can say, oh, I have this tool set that I can then use to, try to address those problems. My brain is just always on fire with ideas, voices, thoughts, hopes, dreams, fears, anxieties. I haven't exactly figured out how to fix that, but that's another thing. I have a really hard time with normal life stuff. We've been in Texas for around 2.5 years now. I haven't found a new dentist, a doctor. I start so many projects. I like being excited about things, and the start of things are so excited. None of that messy middle stuff. So once you get to that, well, then you just start the next thing, and you just keep riding those highs. Any boring life stuff that requires like steps to do it, and it just seems so foreign to me, I'll keep putting it off and putting it off. And I kept putting off being active again and working out because it seemed like this big thing. Oh, I'm gonna have to watch these YouTube videos. I'm gonna have to really study how to be healthy and put together a workout plan and do this and do that, and geez. But now I have discovered the power in just starting, even if it's not perfect. But a lot of times even that's not enough. I have to add in external accountability. Oh my gosh, a podcast that I was listening to talked about that, and that is like my new favorite phrase. I never ended up putting that perfect workout program together, but I was like, what is one step that I can do? I can just fill out this email form for a local gym, and hey, I started going to a local gym with a trainer. And the fact that that trainer expects me to show up twice a week, and I'm gonna disappoint her if I do not show up, that is like the hack in my life. I'm not gonna do my taxes, but I can hire an awesome accountant to do it for me. Yeah, it's gonna be a good chunk of change to hire that person, but guess what? It's better to not do your taxes and go to jail. That external accountability, having someone expecting something of you, I have found to be the most powerful tool in my tool chest, because I am very, very used to, and dare I say almost comfortable with, the disappointment of letting down myself, but I will not disappoint another person. That's kind of sad when I said that, but that's why external accountability is very important to me. I got that hyper focus. When I get into something, it's game over. I got blinders on, right? Which could be good or bad. Good, maybe it's a work project that I need to get done. Bad, you're up at 4 a.m. on the gearpage.net when you're supposed to be studying for an exam that you have the next day, but you're going really into depth, into the differences between silicon and germanium transistor fuzz pedals for your guitar pedal board. Like real life example. Getting ready for things, dinner, coffee dates. I am late to almost everything, unless the consequence is so terrible. Again, that external accountability, then I'm totally on time. If it's like a big brand, maybe I'm a part of a launch of a new tech device. Well, yeah, I'll be on time for that talk. That video will be on time. That social media will be on time. And from an outsider's perspective, that probably sounds like, well, you just don't value everyone's time equally. That makes you an asshole. Like, yeah, that's it. That is it. Yes. A lot of these things that I'm describing, it could be like a freaking game show. It's like, are you an asshole or do you just have ADHD? So some of those things you wanna fix over time, right? But you can't fix them all at one time because I can't multitask, you know? You gotta just like focus on one thing and get that done and then move on to the next thing. Oh yeah, the time management thing. It's like if I have a 2 p.m. meeting, I'm not getting anything done before that or even sometimes after that, you know? It's like once it's 9 p.m. and no one is texting me or emailing me or expecting anything from me, that's when I'm gonna get the real work done. Man, things that I don't wanna do, I just offload to future Sara. I am so mean to future Sara. Procrastination station, toot toot, all aboard. But you know, in school, when I would procrastinate, that's actually where I learned a lot of skills that I use today. You know, I would be on YouTube and learning about video editing and all that stuff. So it's definitely not all bad, but now as an adult, when I'm trying to manage like life and things, it's bad. It's very bad. And so something I heard in a podcast that just absolutely wrecked me. It's this podcast called ADHD Big Brother, and it's a dad who has issues with ADHD, and his 14-year-old son doesn't. He's just very like straightforward, normal, very neurotypical. And the 14-year-old introduced this concept of like your future self to me, right? He just goes, you know, Dad, I just think of myself as best friends with my future self. My future self wants to watch TV later. So you know what? I'm just gonna do my homework right now so my future self can have fun. I was like, oh my God, that like unlocked something in my brain, actually. Like I've been thoroughly enjoying finding these different perspectives talking about kind of the same thing because you just learn so much when you figure out what that umbrella is for you. You know, general productivity advice never worked for me because I am so different than normals, right? And so when I'm listening to things under that ADHD umbrella, it really does feel like it is fine-tuned directly to me. Like it's just like, oh, it's so good. And so I'm hopefully some of these nuggets I'm bringing to you maybe help you in some way, and I'll link all of the things that I've listened to and am listening to in the description below. And temporarily going back to that meeting thing, a good essay to read is the maker schedule versus the manager schedule. It's a really famous essay by Paul Graham, and that really has always helped me actually think about creative work as my career has progressed, and a lot of my day does become kind of littered with meetings and non-creative work. I've had to set up boundaries and really set up times that are for creative work, and I'm still trying to figure that out because oftentimes that'll be late at night, which really isn't compatible with the life I want to live, where I get 8 hours of sleep every night, and you know, I'm more normal. And then when it comes to relationships, I'm just gonna play a quick clip from this audiobook that I listened to that kind of just wraps it up.
Studies have shown that women with ADHD struggle more with socialization than men with ADHD. The demands of social or emotional relationships tend to overwhelm you, and perhaps you have very few meaningful ones to avoid disappointing people. You may steer clear of making new friendships and have trouble maintaining old ones. You may find that isolation is better than the confusion and discomfort of making social mistakes or hurting another person's feelings.
Okay, yeah. So I've already sprinkled in some good advice that I've heard, but just a few more wins maybe. I really am so much better at my job doing just kind of like the traditional advertiser model than pushing my own personal projects. And what's crazy about that is it goes back to the external accountability thing. Like when, you know, NVIDIA sponsors a video, I want to impress those people. It's like, hey, Mom and Dad, I made a good video, right? You approve of me, you're happy with me, careful, I'm very sensitive. But then when it comes to a personal project that I might want to create, it's very hard for me to complete and keep chugging along because I'm making my own deadlines. And again, like I said before, I'm very comfortable with disappointing myself. I wear that guilt on myself like a freaking champ. Not healthy, but I'm working on that. I need that sense of urgency from other people. And so some of this is kind of just saying, well, okay, this is how I work. And so for now, I'm not gonna put the pressure on myself to have all of these different things and projects that other people are doing just because other people are doing it. What works for you, Sara? Do that and figure out how to do that in a more healthy way. That's a way better place to start from because I'm just in a perpetual state of overwhelm when I'm trying to do everything. And obviously that has not worked the past decade for me because then you just get burnt out and burnt out and burnt out. So yeah, I'm trying to get better at almost like manufacturing deadlines. When John and I were getting married, I mean, guys, I literally planned our wedding in a month. That's how last minute I am with things, and I need everything in my life to have a certain pressure to it, a sense of urgency to get it done. I mean, that's crazy. But you know, that 1 month was perfect because I was like, boom, 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 get it done. I feel the pressure. And also in that 1 month, I ate more healthy than I've eaten in the past 3 years because I had a goal. Oh, I'm getting married. I want to look good in the pictures. Perfect. So I'm trying to create that in all facets of my life, but it is difficult. Oh, okay, one more win. I am proud of this because I'm trying to do this more. So I always get emails about, hi, madame, why don't you make more TikToks? Let me repurpose your YouTube content for TikToks. And usually they're never good, but I always will like put that in an email folder and like, oh, I'll answer that later. And then it kind of just like sits on me in my brain, right? But emails like that, if I am curious about it, I've gotten in the habit of just answering them. Say, yeah, send me an example and we'll go from there or whatever. And so emails or small tasks like that, I'll just do them in the moment instead of, again, putting them off to future Sarah. And then if I can't do it in the moment, I will dump it out of my brain into a to-do app like Things. I really like Things. So I either do it or I get it out of my brain by writing it down somewhere. And that has really, really helped my brain. Gosh, I mean, this is insane. So each of these little to-dos, this is all for this one video. They each have like 5 points within each point. So I honestly don't think I can do all of this in one video. I thought I would be able to, but like, I'm honest, I'm very emotionally drained right now. This actually took a lot out of me. I think I'm gonna be relieved when this is like out there, but right now I'm very, very tired. So I'm just gonna skip the last like 7 points and go to the very last one. And this is just people who I want to make amends to. To every single person who's asked me to, oh, send them that pic or that clip of them from, you know, the shoot that we did, and I just never did it. At Jing Not Jane, we did like a cool Adobe interview, I think 5 years ago. And you asked me to send something so simple. It was like a funny clip and I wanted to do it. And I just never did it. And I think eventually I kind of just like forgot what hard drive that footage was on. And that still haunts me today. I'm sorry. Anyone who I have ever said these words to, oh yeah, I'll mail that back to you. I'm pretty sure Dan from What's Inside forgot a new GoPro at my office in New York one time after a podcast. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll send that to you. It disappeared in the abyss of my office. I don't know where it is still to this day. And I did, in fact, not send that to him. That's super shitty. To the financial advisor that I met when I moved here to Texas, I got so excited talking to you. It was this very smart woman, and it's just rare to find women who are really into the stock market and talking about finances and stuff. And so when I started the friendship with this lady, I got super excitable just because it was so much fun talking to her. But I think I definitely led her on like I was going to switch from the financial advisor that I use to her, because I enjoyed my time so much with her, and I didn't realize until after the fact, and I was like, oh, I did that thing where I get excited and I build people's hopes up without even realize what I'm doing. If you're watching this video, I'm sorry. And then she actually offered me something that I needed. My accountant has told me, hey, Sarah, you need disability insurance. Get disability insurance. Well, hey, she got me some quotes for that. Perfect. I didn't feel as bad because finally, you know, we can have some form of transaction, which me and my transactional relationships, that's probably a whole nother thing that I need to address. But then I learned that I had to have like this whole thing of checkups from nurses and doctors to make sure I'm healthy. And again, I haven't been to the dentist in I think 2 or 3 years. Do you think my brain can go through the trouble of like finding a general practitioner, doctor, or whatever they're called when I haven't done that in so long? And then that fell apart. So I'm sorry. To my manager, Adam, I bought him these really cool vintage t-shirts one year for the holidays, and I just straight up lost them in a move. Like I kept putting off sending it to him. The whole me mailing things is a problem that I just never get to, and I just lost your present. To every person that I've been 10 minutes late to a lunch appointment or a coffee date, that is literally on my top priority of things that I'm trying to fix. Still to this day, I think it only takes me 30 minutes to do my hair and do my makeup. Nope, takes way longer than that. And finally, every YouTuber friend who texts me or tweets me and says, hey, I just need a super quick clip of you. It's super easy, take 15 seconds of you saying what your favorite piece of tech is this past year for a fun collab video. Oh, sure, I'll do that. And then I just never do, because that task becomes such a big task for me because I forget about it. And then I remember on the days that I don't have makeup on, and so I don't do it, so I push it. And so how to solve that is to put it in my calendar and make it a FaceTime or a Zoom. So we both have to spend the time doing it, and you're on the other line, so I have to do it. And it adds that accountability. Now that has actually solved my problems. When people ask me for a collab or something, I say, no, I can't just send a clip to you, but if we hop on a Zoom, you can ask me the question, I'll answer it for you. And that does work. My face literally hurts for the amount of talking I've been doing. Guys, this is where I'm gonna wrap it up. I really appreciate you guys hanging out and listening to me. And yeah, I think I've been talking for like an hour or an hour and a half, so I really don't know what the end product of this is. Hello, Sarah from the future here. Watching back the video, I wanna do a very big asterisk, because is that how you say it? I don't know. I swear every day I log on to the interwebs and there's a new thing trending in the news about ADHD or people being overdiagnosed or over-medicated or underdiagnosed and under blah, 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 and these companies taking advantage of this and this news reporter going undercover and doing this, and it's exhausting, and I think this is why I've put off this video for so long. And so I did want to address me saying a lot, I figured out what is wrong with me. Using those words, what is wrong with me. I know a lot of people are gonna be like, no, nothing is, or you're making me feel bad, Sarah, because you're saying that something is wrong with me. And that's not the point. The point is, oh, I learned that I learn differently. I don't work the same way as the majority of humans do in this cookie cutter world that we live in. So that's how it kind of is in my brain. Oh, I figured out what's wrong with me, but more is just I figured out a word that I can then Google and find solutions and find anecdotes from other people who have that word that then help me. So nothing is wrong with you. That's all I wanted to say. Yes, and one more thing. Feel free to leave any stories down below in the comments. Hopefully this is a safe space. I tried to not talk about medication like at all in this video because that is such a hot topic. If you guys have been following me, you know that I am what my mother calls me and the people in my life call me a DLF. It's a delicate little flower. Whenever I put anything in my body, I always respond terribly. So I'm going the route of trying to find tools other than medication to just take the first steps, but that doesn't mean that that is wrong for people. Y'all live your own life, right? And so yeah, I think this can be a community where we uplift each other and we ask, hey, what are you doing? And has that worked? And what about this? I think that's what the comment section of this video can be, and I hope to be. Signing off, stay peachy, okay, bye.